First, I'd like to apologize for my voice. I'm getting over a mild cold, but I wanted to get this out while it's still in the news. What a way to start off 2026, huh? It didn't take long for the fireworks to pop off, both domestically and internationally. Then again, what did you really expect from the anti-war candidate that renamed the Department of Defense to the Department of War? Let's get something straight right now. The United States conducting any kind of military or covert kinetic operation inside Venezuela without a declaration of war, without congressional authorization, and without transparency isn't just immoral, it's illegal. And if you're not angry about that, then congratulations. You've been successfully trained to accept the empire as normal. So over the past few weeks, not only has our government been illegally murdering people off the coast of Venezuela, but reports, intelligence leaks, and geopolitical rumblings have pointed to the possible involvement inside Venezuelan territory. Not a whisper of congressional authorization, not a single vote, not a shred of public accountability. And that's not an accident. That's how modern American warfare works. The executive branch acts first, kills first, and explains later, if it explains at all. Congress is sidelined, the Constitution is ignored, and the American people is treated like a liability rather than the sovereign authority it was meant to be. This isn't defense. It's not law enforcement. And it sure as hell isn't constitutional. It's power exercised without permission because those in charge no longer believe they need it. Article 1, Section 8 of the United States Constitution, not a suggestion, not a guideline, not open to interpretation when it's inconvenient. Congress, and only Congress, has the power to declare war. Not the president with a pen and a podium, not the Pentagon with a PowerPoint presentation, not the CIA hiding behind redactions, not some faceless interagency task force operating in the shadows. There is no asterisk in the Constitution that says unless it's classified. And before the usual crowd jumps in with, well, this wasn't technically a war, please save it. When an armed force crosses borders, when sovereignty is violated, when explosions replace diplomacy and people end up dead, that is an act of war. Calling in an operation, a mission, or a targeted action doesn't change the reality. It just changes how easily the public swallows it. Euphemisms don't make violence constitutional. Secrecy doesn't make it legal. And executive confidence doesn't magically rewrite the founding document. If the government has to play word games to justify what it's doing, that's your first clue it already knows it's in the wrong. This is not how a republic is supposed to function. This is how empires behave right before they stop pretending they answer to the people. Blowback is not a bug, it's a feature. Every time the United States interferes in another nation's internal affairs, we manufacture enemies we didn't previously have. Then those enemies are paraded back here at the homeland as justification for expanding state power. That expansion always looks the same. More surveillance for your safety. More defense spending for national security. More unchecked executive authority. Fewer civil liberties temporarily, which somehow becomes permanent. It's a perfectly engineered racket. Destabilize a region, provoke hostility, build to the chaos, demand more power. Wash, rinse, repeat. In Venezuela, a country already wrecked by corruption, sanctions, and authoritarian misrule, now potentially reduced to another disposable square on Washington's geopolitical chessboard. Not because Americans are safer, not because liberty is advancing, but because the empire needs a new crisis to justify its existence. The empire needs to please its corporate and foreign investors. Forever wars don't happen because threats never end. They happen because power, once expanded, never voluntarily shrinks. And yes, Maduro is a dictator. No serious person is confused about that. But dictatorship does not grant the United States government a blank check to play global cop, jury, and executioner. Nowhere in the Constitution does it say Washington gets to decide which governments live or die based on convenience, oil markets, or geopolitical mood swings. If authoritarianism alone justified invasion, then the U.S. military would be permanently deployed in half the world. Africa, the Middle East, Asia, Eastern Europe. Endless wars without end, debate, or consent. Then again, that actually sounds kind of familiar. And let's be honest, that's not a moral framework. That's empire logic. Freedom does not arrive on the tip of a missile. Liberty does not come from foreign soldiers kicking down doors. Rights cannot be delivered by drones, sanctions, or covert operations. When force replaces consent, it stops being liberation and becomes control. When outsiders decide a nation's future at gunpoint, it's not democracy, it's occupation. You don't overthrow tyranny by becoming one, and you don't defend freedom by destroying the very principles that define it. But sadly, the real letdown is how routine this has all become. No national address, no emergency session of Congress, just a collective push of more globalist goals. We've been conditioned to accept undeclared wars as background noise, something that happens out there, far away, sanitized by euphemisms like operation, mission, or national security interest. But secrecy doesn't make it lawful, and distance doesn't make it moral. A constitutional republic does not survive on trust me politics. Power that doesn't require permission will never respect limits. Demand answers, not press releases. Demand oversight, not rubber stamps. Demand a government that obeys the Constitution instead of bypassing it. Because a state that can illegally wage war abroad will eventually apply that same logic at home, bypassing consent, suppressing dissent, and calling it safety. Oh wait, that actually kind of sounds familiar too. History isn't ambiguous on this point. Every empire tells itself it's different. Every empire is wrong. Unchecked power never stays overseas, and when it comes back, it never acts politely. But hey, that's just my view on it. What's yours? Leave your thoughts down in the comments below.